Hey guys, this is Scott here, Vegas Horse Pools. I'm with my buddy Gary. Gary, how you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm feeling good. Feeling good. A little not rested, but I'm getting there. But I've got some numbers ready. I am ready to talk college football.
Boy, I am too. Boy, it was a great weekend for college football. If you
Oh,
didn't enjoy that Georgia Alabama game, I don't think we're friends because that was one of the greatest games I've seen in a long time. I got to admit, the team I
yeah.
thought was going to win didn't win, but boy, was that exciting. So
Yes, it was. Oh, it felt like it was multiple games in one, right? You
yes,
had
it was.
the Alabama first half. You had Georgia coming back, taking the lead in the second half. Just a constant flipping back and forth. It was very riveting.
That was a great game. And then, of course, Nebraska decided to take the first half off and only play the second half, which was interesting. I believe they're just now trying to kick another field goal, and I think they just missed it again. So they're going to work on kicking this week, but let's see what this week looks like. I think we got some great games. I've got spank odds up right now. First game I want to talk about is Oregon. Oregon's at home taking on Michigan State. I've been a fan of Oregon for a long time. They got a coach named Scott Frost taking over the offense as offensive coordinator years and years ago. That's when I became an Oregon fan because
Oh
I
yeah.
thought the greatest thing to happen to Nebraska was to get him as a head coach. Might have been wrong on that one, but that's when I started becoming an Oregon fan. Looks like they're 24-point favorites here on all the Big Five books. That's including Pinnacle, S411, Bet US. All the Big Fives have it pretty solid at minus 24. What do your numbers have?
So my numbers, actually, stats wise, have got Oregon by 20.34. My power rating plus stats has Oregon by 19.37.
Hmm.
Now, the reason why this thing is 24, one, Michigan State had to play Ohio State last week, right? So, I mean, that is just not the matchup that you want right before you're going to play Oregon, who's got a bunch of team speed, et cetera, because now you've been beat up, right? Uh, and you don't have that long to recover because this is a Friday night game. So you got to travel cross country to play on a Friday night short week, a week after you just got beat up by maybe the best roster in all of college football. I could understand why it's at 24. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Exactly the same way. This is the way what it would be like for teams when they used to play Nebraska in the 90s. The week after they played Nebraska, they were pretty beat up and weren't going to do very well. Ohio State's at that same kind of level. So I
Yes.
100% agree with you. 100%.
Yeah, this is now the number being where it is. I still might would lean Michigan State, if only because Michigan State is number 106 in offensive plays per game. Now Oregon is number 36, so Oregon might be able to dictate the pace here. But if Michigan State's able to kind of slow this thing down a little bit, if they get even just two scores on the board, which eh, easier said than done because Oregon is number 7 in the country in defensive success rate right now. They are number 35 in defensive PPA per play. So Michigan State might be able to get a couple of scores up here. We kind of saw this with UCLA against Oregon last week. Oregon knows that they can beat this team by whatever number they want to. Are they really that worried about it? Are they kind of holding some stuff back for Ohio State coming up very soon? That's it's going to be a tough handicap trying to figure out exactly where the spread ends up.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. The only slight difference I would make with that is I think Oregon will cover. I think Oregon will do very, very well in this game based on the Michigan State issues. So I'm a big
Yeah,
fan of
and one
Oregon in this spot.
one big issue for Michigan State, they are number 130 in giveaways per game. Aiden Childs has got to stop giving the ball to the other team. Like he's got to stop. So I don't know how they fix that, but
Gotcha.
no risk it, no biscuit. But at the same time, I mean, you got to do something here because you keep giving it to the other team, and you're not going to cover a spread the rest of the way.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm gonna take Oregon on this one. Let's go to this is a big game. Let's go to game number two. This is a big one. Missouri versus Texas A&M. Missouri. I've hated Missouri for a long time, clear back to the Big 8 days when they used to play Nebraska, and they were a pretty dirty team. But ever since they've moved to the SEC, I've got a lot more respect for Missouri. I think they're doing a nice job. Looking at the Big Five sports books, looks like it's a pretty solid minus 1.5 for Texas A&M at home. Actually, I'm a little surprised at that. I thought A&M would be a little bit bigger favorite, but looking at the Big Five books, it's pretty solid. What do your numbers have on this one?
My numbers love Missouri in this spot.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely love them. I've got stats wise, I've got Missouri by 9.16. As far as stats plus power rating, it's got Missouri by 4.5. And this is with A&M's home field advantage cooked in there. Power rating, I've got Missouri number 11, A&M number 18. They are 3.5 points apart on a neutral. So you make it a pick 'em, I guess, with home field advantage. It, I think Missouri has kind of been just waiting around for one of their big games. They felt like they could win the majority of these games without showing a lot of what they can do. In the Vanderbilt game, they had to come out and show some more stuff than they planned on, I think, because you really, when it came to crunch time, Luther Burden, Brady Cook, they were doing their things, and you saw the offensive playbook kind of expand with some stuff that Vandy had not seen, and they couldn't stop it once it got later in the game. I think Missouri is significantly better. The question that I've got is A&M has played a significantly stronger strength of schedule.
Hmm.
How much does Missouri have that they haven't shown that A&M is not going to be able to defend, right? We saw this with Alabama, Georgia, where Georgia had no idea what Alabama was doing with motion, et cetera.
Hmm.
I mean, they got blasted early, but can A&M withstand some stuff early on that they haven't seen and then find a way to come back in the second half and figure it all out? I I kind of feel like Missouri is the more balanced team, the more experienced team. I kind of like Missouri in this spot. This is a big time spot for Eli Drinkwitz and company. I would go with the Tigers here.
Wow, I got to say, I'm going to stick with A&M on this one. I've been to their stadium for a football game, and I think maybe people underestimate the home field advantage there because that's crazy. Craziest stadium I've ever been to
Oh
because
yeah,
they make you stand the whole game. So I don't even know why they have seats in that place. It's the
right.
craziest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, you have to stand the entire game because everybody else does. So if you don't, you're looking at somebody's butt the whole game. So
Exactly.
yeah, the home field is huge there. I really think it is. I think the home field is huge at Nebraska also, but Texas A&M is really close. I'm going to take the Aggies. I think they're. I'll take them at home on this one. Although I am a big fan of Missouri here, but yeah, that home field's just too much for me.
I could understand it. I could understand it. If you think A&M should be favored by about 3 points, that would make sense. If you don't think 3.5 is enough for home field advantage, it should probably be 4.5 or 5. I could understand going with the Aggies.
Yeah, I'm just by a little bit. I'll take them. So here we've buried the lead. This is the premier game of the weekend. Rutgers going on the road to take on Nebraska. So looks like the Big Five books have Nebraska at a -7, and I think this is way off, way off. This might be play of the week here. What do your numbers have on Nebraska?
Stats model has Rutgers by 6. The power rating and stats model has Nebraska by 1.21. And power rating wise, I'd have Nebraska by about 5, just on power rating. Um, I I think Rutgers is really good. Both of these teams have played strength of schedules that are in the hundreds. Nebraska 102, Rutgers 104. I like Nebraska. I think Rutgers can drag you into the mud, right? So I don't think that Rutgers wins the game, but this feels like one where you got a total of what 43.5, I think was an open. Um, so it's a low 40s game. A touchdown feels like a lot with a total like that. I'd probably lean Rutgers to cover, but I certainly expect Nebraska to win, especially at home, especially going through what they've already gone through with a team like Illinois on a Friday night, right?
Oh, I 100% agree with that. But I disagree with almost everything else you said here. Nebraska did not play the first half last week.
No, they did not.
Therefore, they're going to take it out on Rutgers. They're really going to take it out.
I could see it.
I think Nebraska scores big in this. I think they're actually going to lay half 100 on Rutgers.
Whew.
I think Nebraska is fired up. I think Nebraska is going to cover this number very, very easily. Now, I'm
You might be
prejudiced.
onto something with this because so Nebraska on offense, number 41 in rushing success rate. Rutgers defense is number 125 in rushing success allowed. That could
Yeah,
get real bad real quick because I mean Nebraska does like to run the ball. They run it about 50-50, right?
yeah,
So run pass. Uh, yeah, if you don't have to rely on Dylan Raiola, then you're going to be just fine, right?
yeah,
And so you don't want to have to rely on a freshman quarterback. Yeah, although we are, 5 weeks into the season now, he's improving, he's getting there. But yeah, if you can just run the ball on this Rutgers defensive line, yeah, it could get real tricky for them very quickly.
yeah. I think this is going to be a very, very high scoring game on the Nebraska side. I think they could. I think they'll cover the 44 on their own. I am going to be really
Legit.
surprised. I'm going to be really surprised if Nebraska doesn't hang half 100 on them because of the way they played that first half. They had the hangover from the Illinois loss. Okay, we got over it at halftime, but I think Nebraska coming back at home, I think they're going to be fired up. Nebraska's going to do very, very well in this spot. Oh, I see a line movement right now. Looks like one of the big five, no, a couple of the big fives are moving this. They're moving the juice. It's the money's coming in on Nebraska. It must be because
Okay.
you and I are talking right now, and it definitely wasn't what you said.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but Spank
Well,
on,
to be fair, it opened at 7.5 and it went down to 7, right? So
yeah. So it's
yeah,
coming. Yeah, the juice. They're adding juice on the -7 at one of the big five books. So yeah, all I can say is I'm prejudiced. You know that. So take what I say with a grain of salt. But I think Nebraska's going to hang half 100 here. So let's
I could
talk.
get it. I could get
Let's
that.
talk about the Michigan Wolverines. This is our fourth game. This is going to be a really good game too. Michigan going on the road. Looks like they're about a 3-point dog right now. Can that possibly be right? What do your numbers have on this Michigan versus Washington?
So stats wise, I've got Michigan by almost 15 points. Power rating and stats, I've got Michigan by 6.6. Power rating, it's pretty close, right? I've got number 19 against number 27. So at 31.87 to 30.17, you toss in home field for Washington, and we're looking at maybe Washington by a couple of points. I'm shocked that there are so many people that are going the Washington route. Michigan has played the number 15 strength of schedule in the country. Washington has played the number 81. And we have seen this multiple times now where Washington will win the box score and lose the game outright, right? They did it against Rutgers the other night. They did it against Washington State a couple of weeks ago. Michigan is just a powerful football team with a really good defense. I don't think we really know what Washington's defense is. Washington is good against the pass on defense. They're number 6 in defensive success rate allowed passing the ball, but they're number 47 as far as stopping the run. They're number 69 PPA allowed per rush. That's predicted points added. I don't think Michigan's really going to have to throw the ball a lot here. I think they should be able to run on this Washington defense. I kind of like Michigan in this spot. And yeah, they're going on the road. I know it's a long trip, but Washington just had to handle Rutgers. They've already been through some pretty difficult games. What does that roster look like right now? Right? I think Michigan is built for this. I don't know if Washington is. How do you feel about this?
I 100% agree. I thought it was a mistake when I saw Spank odds come up and I saw +3s on the Michigan side. I could maybe let you get away with a pick 'em, but I can't go any more than that. You're going to give
Yeah.
me points and Michigan? Yeah, I want Michigan in this spot. I I don't have any problem at all with Michigan in this position. I know Washington just was added to the Big Ten, but I think Michigan is something they're not going to want to deal with this weekend.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
my feeling on it.
I'm wondering because a lot of people, obviously, Michigan only beat USC by 3, and then they turn around last week and only beat Minnesota by 3. But they were up big on Minnesota, and they withstood the end of the ball game against USC. Like they have faced adversity, they know what they're doing. It kind of feels like Michigan has been here before, and I don't know if Washington has in a game like this.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'll take Michigan in this one right here.
I think the same.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So one thing that we want to see if we can get set up, we talked a little bit about the playoffs. Maybe we'll talk about the playoffs next week. Or if you have a chance, maybe you can add it to the comments from this show and we can start doing a virtual playoffs. I'm anxious to see if, with your power rankings, if the Huskers are actually projected to win the Big Ten, or if they're going to make the tournament. See what you've got on that, because I sure would like to see them in there. But at this point, I have to admit, I don't think you're going to have them in the tournament at all.
Probably not yet, but
probably not
still
yet.
A lot of season.
Right, there's a lot of season left. We're going to win it at the end, but yeah, it's not quite there yet. But like I said, I think a virtual tournament is something we're going to want to do here in the very near future. I think we had a pretty good discussion of these 4 games. Like I said, last weekend was a college nightmare dream with that Georgia game. So let's hope we have another one this weekend. Gary, you got anything you want to close with?
Just make sure that you check out the BetUS College Football Show Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then of course I do all kinds of stuff with the Winning Cures Everything podcast that I do as well. But those are the spots, and of course you can find me on Twitter at Gary WCE or X or whatever it's called.
Whatever it's called. And of course you can find me on Twitter or X. I'm at Vegas Horse Pools, and I almost forgot. Today is the 1-year anniversary of Spank Odds going pay when they brought up the paywall. It happened exactly 365 days ago. So kind of celebrating here today. Hopefully everything runs smooth today. I'm really, really lucky that Spanky has me on the team at Spank Odds. If you guys haven't loaded Spank Odds yet, you might want to go out and give us a try. Take a look at the free version. Just go to spankodds.com. You can use it forever, your entire lifetime, for free. Just sign up for the free one. We've got a couple of features if you want to do the pay side, but Spanky says 95% of all people should use the free version. I think it's slightly smaller than that, but let's go with Spanky. Let's go with 95% of you should all be using the free version, and I'll welcome you to the Spank Odds family. Gary, that's it for me. We'll call it a day. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a good day.
Of course, you too, buddy.